In big news that's coming in, more than 1,000 people, including Hezbollah fighters and medics, have been injured and at least 3 people have been killed on Tuesday when pagers used for communication exploded across Lebanon. This is according to security sources. Hezbollah, they have said that these detonations were the biggest security breach that they've had in nearly a year of conflict with Israel. The explosions, which began at around 3:45 p.m. local time there, continued for about 1 hour. And the exact method of the detonation is unclear. And the Lebanese internal security forces, they've reported that these blasts affected several wireless communication devices, particularly in Beirut's southern suburbs. CCTV footage from a Beirut supermarket captured a man's bag exploding. The location was confirmed by matching floor tiling and ceiling patterns. And for more on the story, we are joined by Akshay Dongre, who's following the story for us, and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General of Infantry. Akshay, unusual, to hear this kind of thing, but it's still unclear how these pagers were detonated. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, it appears to be total panic in Lebanon right now, especially when we talk about southern Beirut, which has been considered as the stronghold of Hezbollah. This is the place from where most of the Hezbollah commanders operate. And the way this incident, or rather these attacks have been carried out across the Hezbollah leadership is quite unique. In fact, it is unprecedented that this kind of security breach has been done during an active warfare. Now, Israel was aware that the commanders of Hezbollah and the other important officials of Hezbollah leadership were using pagers instead of mobile phones for usual communication, especially for important communication, because of the security breach that they feared of the telecommunication lines being tapped, and that is why the pagers were being used. Now, pagers are old technology. However, from what we are hearing from our sources, the fact that the Hezbollah had procured these pagers that are in question right now, that in fact are reportedly detonating. And in fact, they detonated in a synchronized time. They were bought only a couple of months before, which can in fact point out to a larger sabotage that could have taken place as far as the communication line and the way the Hezbollah top leadership is concerned. Now, it's not just the member of the MP of Hezbollah, the son of Hezbollah MP that is injured, but also from our sources are also hearing that Iranian ambassador may also be one of the people who is injured. Now, we are hearing that thousands of people are injured in this kind of pager blasts that have taken place across the country. But in fact, this is quite interesting, along with worrying that how sabotage can take place in these kind of active warfares and how it can threaten. These kind of technologies can actually threaten not just active war zones, but civilian life as well. With these kind of technologies going into the wrong hands, can also threaten not just commanders of military, but also civilian leadership of any country. So at one time, it is fascinating the way these kind of attacks, coordinated attacks, have been carried out, and nobody had an idea about it in an organization like Hezbollah that is right now in an active war zone. But this is quite worrying as well. Back to you, Mark.
Indeed, we are also joined by General Kulkarni, who can throw light on this type of an attack. General Kulkarni, unprecedented. Akshay was saying that these are probably new pagers that were bought recently, but if phones, mobile phones, pagers can all be converted into weapons and handled remotely, what's the future of warfare like?
Mark, definitely a huge security breach, and it also tells us that we ought to be very, very careful. And that's the reason why, when we are buying such electronic equipment, we are very particular from whichever country they have to be imported from, because sabotage can always be done. You've seen how mobiles, if they're overcharged, they tend to blast. Similarly, there are devices which can be fitted in to blast. And that is what has been done. And not just over here, the pages have even blasted after 30 minutes of a single blast. So these kind of things can be done because anything and everything can be electronically activated from a distance. And therefore, a remote control, all that is required. And once a particular frequencies which have been feeded into. Obviously, that has been done, and that is why it's such a massive security breach. And they probably must have thought that mobiles can be, hacked, and then the communications can be tagged along. But they probably felt that the pages were more safer, and therefore the import of these huge number of pages for them, which in fact turned out to be almost like an improvised explosive device, which have led to so many killings, including an Iranian ambassador, I understand, in Lebanon has also been a victim of it, and so have been some of these Hezbollah fighters over there. Anything and everybody, because now it's all out, and most of it has happened in southern Lebanon, and that's quite clear because south and the north of Israel has always been at loggerheads. You had almost 70,000 people migrating from there. The entire area and all the fighting is taking place over there. The Israelis are striking almost 140 kilometers deep into Israel, but the Hezbollahs have been doing so about 8 to 10 kilometers into northern Israel, but Israel has been going all out of it. Though nobody has claimed, but definitely it's a huge security breach and an improvised explosive device which has been triggered remotely, leading to so many casualties. Yeah.
Indeed, Akshay, if we look at, there have been cases where software has been breached through hackers, and people are concerned. I mean that ordinary cell phones can be through a phone call, from some unknown source, and then it can just be activated. There are things inside cell phones that can explode, batteries, for instance. Things are quite unusual now. This has certainly changed the way people have to look at things, especially since these kind of technologies exist.
Well, absolutely. In fact, I think that from what we are hearing from Lebanon, especially right now, is that the top Hezbollah leadership is trying to ascertain that how this security breach took place. First is that. Second is also the way, like General Kulkarni was mentioning, how a pager can be converted into an improvised explosive device. That is an IED, using frequencies to trigger the charge. Now, we also have to keep in mind that the Hezbollah leadership is also trying to ascertain that whether the pagers that were bought, they were already sabotaged, waiting for the right opportunity, or whosoever has, because the Israeli authorities have not taken responsibility and they have not issued any statement. So we clearly we cannot confirm that who exactly was behind this particular coordinated blast. So it has to be ascertained as well, and this concerns not just Lebanon but the governments across the world, that what was the modus operandi of this operation, whether the pagers were fitted and sabotaged even before being handed over to Hezbollah leadership and the fighters, or was it some kind of a software that the authorities, whosoever has in fact coordinated this attack, were they able to breach the pager and turn it into the equipment, as you were rightly mentioning, that there are batteries, there are wiring, there are chips inside the pagers as well, anything electronic. Were the software changed or sabotaged in a way to convert these items of a pager into an IED? So that has to be ascertained. If it is the latter, it is a concern not just for Lebanon or Hezbollah, but the entire world. Back to you, Mark.
Right. General Kulkarni, the Hezbollah strongholds have been targeted across Lebanon, so it obviously was a targeted attack. And from a military strategy point of view, how would you look at this? I mean, they were taken completely by surprise.
Totally, because Hezbollah has been, rather, I would say, quite a huge nuisance value to Israel. And Israel really doesn't know how to handle it at this point of time, because Gaza itself, they've been finding it extremely difficult for such a long time to tackle. And now Hezbollah on and off have been targeting especially northern Israel, and where a huge, about 35,000 people had to vacate northern Israel. Another 35,000 of southern Lebanon have vacated. So that's a huge migratory population and a pressure which is building on Israel, that they are unable to tackle Hezbollah. In that context, they see an Hezbollah pressurizing Israel, though Israel hasn't claimed anything like that. But I have no doubt in my mind that it is absolutely a targeted thing, and this will be something which is there. Anything which is electronic, anything which has a chip, anything which can be monitored remotely, it can't be compromised. And there it is. It's absolutely clear and clean that so many pages, and they thought that they wouldn't want to go through mobile and pages. There is pressure on Israel. There is pressure on Hezbollah, and Hezbollah definitely has been caught. And Israel now needs to be more vigilant, because there would be some kind of retaliatory action, which Hezbollah will obviously be doing it. And still, of course,
but General
nobody has claimed.
General Kulkarni, what amazes people is that Hezbollah was using this system of pagers because it's an outdated system, so that, probably they thought that it was free from these kind of influences, and they have their own system of communication, and it has been breached. So there really is no way in which, systems of communication which are using electronic devices are basically free of any tampering these days.
Absolutely. Nothing is free. Anything and everything can be compromised. The manufacturer actually knows how it has to be hacked, how it has to be compromised, and what can lead to a blast. It's just a question of safety measures to be introduced, and more of trust when you deal with firms, that those firms aren't doing anything like that. And now we've got to be very careful, because anybody and anything can happen. We've had these incidents. So many incidents have happened where, a person with a mobile charger and he's talking on and it's gone off. What is all that? That's all indicative. Just not the overheating of that particular battery that needs to, but maybe a compromised part, certain parts which cannot withstand that heat which has been generated into it. And therefore, you find these kind of incidents happening. And one has to be very careful. Now, especially Israel now needs to be careful, because Hezbollah is bound to retaliate, because there are so many casualties that have taken place in Lebanon at this point of time.
In fact, let's turn to Akshay, a final question. Akshay, you're following the story, and the numbers are going up. 2,750 wounded now, and 8 people have been killed. So the numbers are going up, and there has been no comment at all from Israel, has there been?
Well, it seems that if Israel has, in fact, ordered this attack, this hit, that is such a widespread hit, then they need not comment at all. In fact, they have crippled the entire Hezbollah leadership in Lebanon functioning right now through a single attack. And though General Kulkarni has been saying that there may be retaliation expected from Hezbollah, but who exactly is going to take that call? Because it seems that every Hezbollah leader or let's say member of Hezbollah was using this pager for communication, especially the important members. And all of them, if a leader of Hezbollah was not near their pager when the blast took place, then they were lucky. But most of these officials of Hezbollah, most of these leadership of Hezbollah used to keep their pagers very close to them in case of any kind of communication, especially since they are in a part of an active war zone. So the entire, it seems, the Hezbollah leadership has been, if not, eliminated, we can't use that word, but it seems that they have been targeted. So it is going to be quite difficult for Hezbollah to come out of this kind of attack that has been carried out. And, though General Kulkarni will also agree to the fact that the conflict that is going on, especially this conflict, Israel-Hezbollah or Israel-Hamas conflict, it has been, tilted towards Israel because of the technology that they use. Almost everything that Israel uses is much more technologically superior than the Hamas or the Hezbollah. So it is going to be extremely difficult for Hezbollah to first come out of this, and second, plan an attack that cannot be surveillanced by Israel, because now they have crippled the only communication line that was dependent on modern technology that was being used by Hezbollah. If they go back to cell phones again, there can be surveillance of that as well. So it is going to be extremely difficult for Hezbollah to come out of this attack that they have faced today.
Right. We leave it there. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre. Continue to follow the story for us, and General Sanjay Kulkarni, thank you very much, sir, for putting this into context for us.